Good afternoon guys, and welcome to today's vlog, it being a Saturday. Today I thought we would try something that has been on the radar for quite a while, but it comes at a price of £13 entry each, so usually we just generally do the free stuff. Today we find ourselves at Stowe Park, which is, if you know the Silverstone circuit, you're saying going around the corner says it's Stowe. Well, behind that is an old manor, old school grounds and some pretty ornate gardens. It's supposed to be pretty majestic, so Rachel's in charge of the map. So
God help us.
God help us indeed. So let's go and have a look at this place. Catch you in a bit, guys. You're gonna have to forgive my Latin because I'm no good at it, but this is pretty much a pebble alcove. Hundreds of years old that they done this, but it's all sort of, it's like a Doric house. It's like a summer house. People would sit out here, have lunch, etc. And they've decorated it, ornated it with different pebbles, shells. I think at one point it was called the Shell Alcove. But it's pretty. Coat of arms there, that just stood out to me. So you've got a unicorn and a lion either side of that. I was thinking, do you reckon that's signs of the zodiac, babe?
Well, I'd say that's a mermaid.
Okay, yeah, yes, it's obviously
Oh
not.
yeah,
then.
it looks like it could be.
You got to see, because that could be Taurus the bull.
Yeah.
So, and
Crab.
he's 16. I don't know if that's a sign of Gemini or not.
Could be.
Cancer is obviously the crab, so could be. But yeah, pretty cool. And it's not replicated the other side. It is in parts. It's kind of beautiful old ruins that pretty much is part of my genre of what I'm into and what I like exploring. So yeah, it's interesting. I'm actually going to be a good boy today and not use the access of going through the barriers, which I would do if I was generally doing an urbex, but this is just a friendly explore, so I won't traverse past gates, because pretty much, not that they would tell me off, but Rachel probably would. So I'm just going to have a general walk around the front, around the facade area, walk up the steps. See, what they've done is they've pretty much, you could walk around there no problem at all. It wouldn't cause you any problems. But yeah, as I said, these were like summer houses back in the day, otherwise known as Doric houses, I believe. I think there's one here called a Doric house. But it's certainly a magnificent view. We're heading towards a Chinese house, supposedly. Now, I'm not believing for one moment that they will do a takeaway. This fence entrance here turns around and tells me that it used to be possibly an aviary in this area. But it certainly isn't now. I can see people to the left over there. But you know me in wooded areas, so there's an element of creepiness to it. Yeah, I don't know, it's just sort of the ring fence around the back there. You put netting over the top of that and this probably could have been an aviary. So not quite the Chinese pavilion at Epcot, but here we have our Chinese house, possibly some sort of peace pagoda-y type, or a summer house. Some old paintings depicted on it. It's not actually that old. This goes, I don't know if you see the plate back there, this is tail end of the 1980s. So it's more ornate, made to look older than it actually is. But it's still pretty nonetheless. Around these garden areas there's plenty of these deck chairs if you want to take a pew, sit down, take the weight off your feet for a bit. What do you call them? Geisha girls? I'm not sure. It's ornate on the outside, but I dare say, yeah, pretty barren on the inside. Looks like there could be carpets in there. Well, there is some painting to the structure, very faint, probably faded over time. This is known as a cascade. Oh, okay, I get it now. Cascading as in waterfall. That's quite nice. Kind of gives me the vibes of the old, anyone ever done the likes of Shanklin Chine on the Isle of Wight? Black Gang Chine, that sort of thing. I'd imagine if they had lights up here, it would be pretty beautiful at night. So there you go, babe. Who would have thought you would have found a waterfall in Buckinghamshire?
Absolutely.
And then we have, I love these, spooky entrances. This reminds me of the Devil's Bridge out in Berkhamsted area. Very much like this. Oh wow. Oh, that's fantastic. This is very much my kind of likes. So I think that's been built to emulate old ruins. Because they've just been placed there for the moss and the foliage to grow over the top of it. But apart from that, there's no real meaning as such to it. Yeah, this is very, very me. This is a dry old riverbed here. You see where the, as the termination of the cascade of the waterfall would come down here over these rocks, but it's dried off in time. Could have branched off that. That's probably the reason why the moss is about in such a abundance. Yeah, they're not gargoyles or grotesques. As you walk through, I'll walk through looking at the ceiling first, I think.
Through the back. One of these is the bloody one. I can't find out area if there's seems one.
Of Italian inspiration. Over there in the distance you can see a Gothic temple, and it's adorned by, I wouldn't call them grotesque, perhaps the one in the middle is, but they look more, I don't know, would it be like Athena, that sort of type? So perhaps it's Greek. I seem to be waffling on, not knowing what I'm talking about, but you get a lot of that with me. But either way, that is very, very spectacular. Obviously centuries old, so I'd imagine in its heyday it would have been very, very unique and beautiful. And the thing is, this was all once privately owned. It was back in, I believe it was 1989. That is certainly a spectacular view though. There's a load of obelisks and ornaments around, and I believe if I focus in, there's actually a crane. Not a crane as in industrial, but as in waterfowl. Get right in on him. Cool. It was Indiana Jones that said, snakes, why did it have to be snakes? In our case, it's hills, why did it have to be hills? These things are a killer. Right there, coming into view, we have a Gothic temple. Now, I don't know much about the era, but I certainly love the armour. It's both the Gothic period armour and Maximilian armour. Some people called it a chicken armour because it looked like chicken feathers, but yeah, that's pretty spectacular. Said with anything like this, you have to be really good at understanding and reading Latin, and I can promise you I certainly am not that. That is a large column. It's for a lord or a king. It looks at some point you could have in the past perhaps have gone up it, because there is a door there. Okay, what do I know of, what I've investigated, looked into, renowns, famous people that attended the school here. I've got 4 names for you. First of all, sorry, I've just been distracted by a squirrel running past, as is normally the way. Hi squirrel, how are you doing? First name that comes up is an actor of yesteryear, known by the name of David Niven. Many of you remember him. I think he was one of the first incarnations of James Bond back in the day. Not 100% sure, but I believe he had something to do with that. Whether he was offered the role and never accepted it or not, but I know somewhere along the lines he was involved with it. He went on to star in a film, The Guns of Navarone, I remember. That was possibly 60s, 70s. Said he's very much a yesterday sort of actor. Another name, any of you guys out there know the name Chelsea Davy, because obviously girls in the latter part of this century could attend here. She is the famous girlfriend of the artist formerly known as Prince Harry, that is. Before he met Meghan Markle, it was Chelsea Davy that he had a big thing for, and he spent a lot of his time with. Now, that's not impressed you at all, those 2 names probably. How about the Man of Steel? Now, back in the day, Henry Cavill attended school and was educated here. He obviously went on to become Superman, the more modern adaptation of Superman. A lot of people's favourite would either be himself, or before him would be Christopher Reeve. And yeah, I think a lot of the ladies out there like his chiselled looks, that's for sure. Now, the other name I've got is someone who was a renowned entrepreneur, comes synonymous with a brand. Now, he was famous initially for his record label producing the Tubular Bells back in the 70s. He went on to own a lot of record stores. He was known for being a balloon pioneerist. Not balloon as inflated balloon, but going around the globe on balloon. Unfortunately, they had a few accidents and that all stopped. He was synonymous with media, with rail, but most notoriously, I wouldn't say notorious, I wouldn't say notorious, no. Most adhered to, especially by ourselves because we go a lot to Florida, he was the founder of the Virgin Group. That man, of course, is Richard Branson. He spent his education and schooling years here. Didn't know that, did you?
No, I didn't.
A little friendly squirrel there. Obviously a lot slimmer than the ones in our garden, because they get a plethora of nuts every day and they're fat little sods. Did they not think to wear clothes back in the day? That is magnificent. This is one huge temple, what would feel right at home in London itself. That big, you can actually walk around the perimeter on the actual plateau itself. Another magnificent find on the route, as I hear the churches in the distance. That is the Queen's Temple. Again, we cannot gain access, but we can certainly make our way up the steps. I'll certainly be a lot fitter at the end of the day. I don't know what your highlights have been so far, guys, but for me it's certainly that cascade, the waterfall, etc. The facade, the artificial grand, spectacular view from the plateau. Now I'd actually turn around and say, although I'm not tempted to try, that is a drinking fountain. This is the backside of water. Yeah?
Yeah, this is the backside of
backside of water. That's obviously some form of grotto over there that we're going to go and have a look at. Oh, I like this. I think more appealing to me than an alcove or cave. Nice and cool in here as well. Oh wow, this is stunning. It's like something out of an Indiana Jones film. The Fountain of Eternal Youth or something like that.
and to
okay, these look like possibly philosophers. Greek, of course. There you go, yeah, Socrates, great Brazilian player in his time. But laughing aside, yeah, I don't know who these other ones. I've heard of Socrates. Here we go again, more Latin. Maybe they all depict something. I don't know, it's not sure, because I was saying that that's music, I'd say that's theatre. But that's music again. That could be philosophy. Very difficult to work it out unless you know these sort of things. Okay, we have short story time again. As you know, I like doing my behind the scenes investigating, and I found an intriguing story that happened here. It was April 1963. Now a guy, David Moores I believe his name was, he paid £100 for a band to come and play here, and he at the time he charged, I believe it was 10 shillings a ticket, so that's 50p in modern day monies, and he sold 240 tickets. He made a huge profit of £20. Now that £20, he decided instead of keeping it for himself, he would pay for a meal for the band and for some of his friends. So why is the story significant? Well, I'll tell you. At that time there was this band that played here. They were start of kind of getting a name for himself. There was 4 members. One was called John, one was called Paul, one was called George, and one was called Ringo. Now they became synonymous with pop culture, rock culture of that period of time, and they of course were the Beatles. And it was here in 1963 that they played a concert, and I just looked at it and I was fascinated by that someone would go out, just pay £100. I suppose £100 at the time was probably quite a bit. He made himself £20 profit, but instead of putting that in his pocket, he paid for a meal for the band in a tuck shop that was here. It was a place called Roxburgh Hall, which is to the side of the house itself. They had a meal, and the rest is history, so to speak. Pretty cool. This is called the Rotunda. I suppose again some form of temple. This is Dido's cave. Less of a cave than the last one that we was in, to be honest with you. But not a lot to that. See some shelves sitting there. Some mirror broken up as well. Not the most spectacular of them. Little seat to sit down in. Well, as Dido would have sung, thank you basically. Thank you all for watching today's vlog. I've enjoyed it. I certainly hope you have, and Rachel has as well.
Yeah, it's a lovely place.
We are going to make our way back out, taking in some of the sights on our way back out. So we do sort of like an outro now. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Really appreciate all the views, the likes, the comments, etc. If you get a chance to come, definitely worth a visit. As I said, we paid £13 each for entry, and I think it's a good day's outing. We could have made more of it. We probably could have bought a picnic, etc. But we decided, well, we sort of loosely decided that we would just come here. Decided not to get any water, which is a bit of a downfall, because you do certainly need some sort of refreshment going round there. I've got the glasses on now. As you can tell, the sun's out. It's starting to warm up quite briskly, and yeah, we're just gonna make our way back, taking a few little sights that we've seen as we passed on our way down here, and
Go and get coffee, I hope.
go and get a coffee, maybe an ice cream, maybe a cold drink, maybe the whole lot. Sort of just splash the boat out now, just to replenish our system a bit. Coming up next weekend, Saturday, it's an easy one of our favourites. Obviously some of you guys really love it when we do a vlog from the zoo, so we're back there again. I've got a bit of urbexing coming up on Monday. I took Monday off work, Mum's birthday, so I've got a few hours where I can kill there during the day. So we're going to go out, see if I can get in, find some places that are abandoned locally to us. They look good on picture. Whether they're any good or not, if they are, I shall certainly bring those to you. And with that, guys, enjoy the rest of your weekend. As I said, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate the views, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. See you in the movies, guy. Bye for now.
Bye.
So this is the Temple of Worthies, or I would say worthiness. So this depicts people in that era of when this was erected that would have been synonymously popular. Fables of, I can see for sure William Shakespeare to me left over there. Sir Francis Drake. Sir Walter Raleigh, the man who invented the bicycle. King William III. Queen Elizabeth. Edward of Wales. King Alfred. Now that's the Great Fire of London. Okay, yeah, Sir Francis Bacon, that is Hemel Hempstead area, Gohammery House should I say. Isaac Newton. So obviously John Locke, you're looking at thespians, philosophers, poets, wordsmiths, etc. So yeah, some of your literary greats, etc. So who would replace them nowadays? Obviously you'd have the king. Not so much theatre now, so you're looking at maybe a British film producer. What's his name, babe? What's the guy who does all the Cats and all that lot? Andrew Lloyd Webber? He's sort of bust, I'd imagine. That's the sort of scope, the sort of spec you would have nowadays. And then obviously a few kings and queens, great explorers if we have any. I suppose an urbexer would come under that thing now. Maybe I'll stick myself there. But yeah, they are brilliant. The one thing that I did think, first of all, I thought that was Shakespeare because of the ruff, but Shakespeare is actually there. They said that is Bacon. Rachel, remember us going for a walk right up towards Gohamry House? That was his place.
Oh,
Gohamry
okay.
House in Hemel Hempstead.
Oh, yeah.
Just past the Roman Valerian. The ruins up there where I believe Elizabeth, etc. would have visited him. But that's pretty spectacular.